Who will be the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee? Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has decided to challenge Congressman Gerry Connolly for the role. Now, here to discuss the importance of that position is Blaze senior politics editor Chris Bedford, because he recently wrote about this in his latest Beltway brief. So, Chris, let's make sure, first of all, that everybody's on the same page here. Explain the role in the committee overall quickly.
Absolutely. The ranking member of Oversight's job is to essentially investigate and oversee the executive branch. Now, largely, Congress has kind of given up on this role in the past couple of decades. They hold a lot of hearings, but rarely is there actually as much effective oversight because there's a refusal amongst Congress to actually pull back the money, which is their enforcement mechanism against the executive more often than not. But it's been an important place for Republican congressmen like Jim Jordan in the past who've risen through the ranks and become leaders and become visible members of the party with their investigations of the Democrat administrations, and vice versa for Democrats investigating Republicans. So it is an important role, and it's one that people can either use simply to raise their profile and to make a lot of noise and to go on their cable channels, their chosen ones, and rile up their base and raise money, or they can use it to be a little more studious, a little more serious, and really dig into and cause trouble for whoever is running the executive at that moment. And these two are competing to see who's going to be the ranking Democrat on that committee, the person who's in charge of other Democrats sitting next to them.
Okay, so who do we root for? Because I can see a case, whoever is going to get the least done, right? Or be the most ineffective, I'm probably for that person in this context. But what do you think of the pluses and minuses of each?
So I think that if you want the least done, then you probably want Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in that position. She's very vocal. She jumps around. She dances at rallies. She gets the people. She reminds me of that Will Ferrell line, "Nobody knows what it means, but it's provocative." It gets the people going. And that's the style, really, of AOC out there, the squad. She's someone who's a lot of bark, but I would say less serious in the bite. In contrast, her opponent had spent 10 years in Senate oversight as a staffer by the time she was born. When she was in college, she was already practicing oversight for the Democratic Party. And while also a pretty fierce partisan and certainly a liberal, he's a much more serious person for running oversight. Someone who, if you're in the administration and you don't want the Democrats causing you too much trouble, you would not prefer him to be, I think, the guy who's watching over you. But at the same time, he's backed by Nancy Pelosi, who is so old she has having difficulty standing and walking these days, like so many other congressional leaders. He's 74, and he also just recently announced that he's battling stomach cancer and looking at treatment options for that. So AOC is trying to portray this simply as new guard versus old guard, but it's also going to help shape what the Resistance 2.0 looks like. Is it more yelling to the base and throwing dance parties and wearing white or wearing black like they were doing today and mourning when they said goodbye to Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman? Or was it going to be more substantive investigations?
I love that you brought up Nancy Pelosi falling in Luxembourg, because at this point, Chris, don't we almost have just some rationale for term limits just to actually go out there and help them? It should be for their own well-being at this point in time.
I would still leave it all up to the voters at the end of the day. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, because if you're a Democrat, she's a powerful asset. She's a powerful ally. She's been a very effective political leader in Washington, D.C., and those decades of experience have done it. But it's time to step aside. A hip injury, a broken hip in your 80s is a very dangerous injury.
Yeah. What about, one thing, we don't have to belabor this, but let's talk about it with the age thing with our geriatric leadership class. Okay, term limits. I'm against term limits in principle too. I know a lot of people on the right, would disagree, but I think both Chris and I think
it's a shiny object.
It's a shiny object. You leave it up to the people, because you do need, some people learn things over time in office, and it's not all bad. On the other hand, I could see, is there a limit, right? Maybe we do one of these things like they did for the Pope, where they say, 85, and then we're cutting you out, because people are going to continue to live longer. You could change it later. But we're at the point now where when someone says they're 74, that's like the new 16, We need some, I could see saying 80 and then you're done, because after all, just the lifetime of a human being, at the end, you should go do something with your family, God forbid. I don't know. I could see that. What do you think?
I think that's right. A real check on that would be an honest media, one that's willing to report on this. I mean, the amount of Republican and Democrat senators who have basically been wheeled around corpses like Vacation at Bernie's, whatever that movie was.
Weekend Bernie's.
They've been covered by the media. They think it's inappropriate to talk about. They'll lose access. They'll get attacked. It's like how there's a weird code in DC media to never attack Senate and House staffers. They're apparently supposed to be off limits. Of course, that's like a rule that's been set by Senate and House staffers. They'll block you off from contact if you go after them. But at some level, there's a willingness to turn the other cheek or turn the other eye. I mean, we think that the age of the media covering up FDR's infirmities or covering up JFK's affairs is over. And the Joe Biden administration, the health of Mitch McConnell, the health of Nancy Pelosi, those things are proof that that age is not over, and they're still willing to lie for the people in power to get that access.
All right, I'm updating my Christmas list right now. Dear Santa, we would like an honest media. I don't know if he's going to be able to get that one done or not, but Bedford, we'll send it to the North Pole. Thanks so much for your time.